All right, folks. Well, we are back. It's been Thanksgiving week. It's actually been pretty okay, all things considered. I mean, we've got your usual suspects being absolutely terrible, monstrous, and vile
Uh,
human beings, as they are. I just,
Happy belated Thanksgiving to everybody,
of
and
course,
Hanukkah Sameach to all my fellow Jews out there.
of
At
course,
least
of
the one
course.
that I know of who's listening.
There might be at least one. There could be two. And
Just
actually,
could be
all
more.
said, the numbers are we're actually starting to see some steady growth finally, which is excellent.
Oh, very
So,
cool.
hey, if you're listening, watching, or whatever, share the word. So, we're going to start out this week with, unfortunately, no Steve,
Oh, no,
but it is what it
it's
is.
not what you think. We're gonna start off with a tweet by Kamala Harris,
Let's do.
and in fact, it might seem a little bit dated. It's all the way from 2019.
Yeah, I remember she had something to say about the Trump vax, didn't she?
She did, but that was 2020.
Oh, that was the
This is
2020 one?
when
Oh,
yeah,
right. I don't know if
we're a
I'm
year off
necessarily
there.
familiar. Drop that here for me if you wouldn't mind, and I'll put that in for everybody.
Oh, absolutely.
See here, I thought you were
You just
talking
go
about how
ahead and
she
put
was
that.
she wasn't really a big fan of the
Oh,
Trump vax.
no. We're not on vaccines at this point. I figured this would
Oh,
be.
oh right. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, there
That's
you
right.
go.
She did. She talked to old Jesse Smollett.
That's right.
Yeah, that's right. What was that? She
Jesse
said
Smollett.
Jesse Smollett is one of the kindest, most gentle human beings I know. Praying for his quick recovery was an attempted modern day lynching. No one should have to fear for their life because of the sexuality or the color of their skin. We must confront this hate. Strong words,
Oh,
strong words, Officer Harris. Strong words.
that's some serious hatred right there.
It was, and as
Oh
we
yeah.
know, there were those two large, they were very tanned, had a lot of melanin for white guys, very curly hair too, and were from Africa or Zimbabwe or no. So they were from somewhere that traditionally doesn't have a lot of white people, but it's probably just that
I thought they
they.
were Nigerian.
Oh, that thank you. Yes, that's right. They were Nigerian. That's right. That's right. Those those
Poor guys
pesky.
thought they were playing for a role because they were actors, but apparently it wasn't the kind of role they thought they were going to be paid for.
No, but in the end, I don't
It
think they
was
were.
involved construction work, I believe. They were at a hardware store
Well,
earlier
yeah,
that night.
well, true, and they were constructing a story, so true enough.
Well, I guess there's that. Yeah.
And of course, we now know that didn't exactly work out to plan, even with Letitia James, pulling the strings as she did. And
This is true.
well, what has come from that since? It seems that our friend Jesse is gonna actually, maybe, probably not, face the music. There's actually a trial set to start on that for these events that
Yeah.
happened
A
so
thing
many
to
years
point
ago.
out from the thing to point out from the article that you shared with me here, nearly 3 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
nearly three whole ass years.
Yeah, been a little bit.
He's been able to drag this shit out for nearly 3 fucking years. I mean,
And
look at what happened to say, what if he had been white, like say Kyle Rittenhouse. That got dragged out for about a year, so he's got nearly three times that privilege. Or is that how that works? I get confused sometimes when they complain about it. They not being a liar like Jesse, but a liar like Kamala. Although I suppose it's kind of hard to distinguish between them these days, isn't it?
well, that's they bear a striking resemblance. And if I'm not mistaken, they share a lot of friends. Curiously enough.
Oh,
Oh,
funny
yep,
about that.
that's right. That's right. It was Nigeria. I legit couldn't remember where it was they were from.
Yeah, I thought I really did think it was Nigeria.
Yeah, no.
I wasn't trying to make a joke there or anything.
So basically, what's happened in this? The charges were filed, dropped, and then brought again because Letitia James is basically fighting any kind of justice for
Letitia James is
Jussie.
a piece of shit.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely.
But
Like the a piece of shit's piece of shit, really, if we're being honest.
I love that thing where people don't realize this. Charges can be brought against you at any time. In fact, it's very common to wait to bring charges against a criminal to help them incriminate themselves further.
Oh sure, as long as the statute
Um,
of limitations hasn't been breached,
oh yeah.
up until the very last day. If you got a 10-year statute of limitations, they can wait,
Oh wait.
3,000 days, and still got plenty of
So
days to go.
within reason, they will wait until they have strong a case as they need to put you in jail or to win their case.
Now, in this
And
particular case, it's
this one of those
been
fun, and it's not double
waylaid.
jeopardy if they drop the charges and come back later because they can always do that.
Yeah, double jeopardy only comes into play when the case itself has actually been tried.
Yeah.
So you've got to have a result there, which is why any of the charges in the Rittenhouse case can't ever come back up because every single charge has been
Well,
addressed as
now
either
speaking of that,
dismissed
I have
or
seen something
oh
where I saw that there was potentially the Gun Free Zone Act might be used against him, but I have no idea if that's actually a thing or not, as far as the Department of Justice is concerned.
they'd have a hard time trying that case, and they're already in a rough spot. I don't.
Yeah,
I
well,
don't.
that's the
I
thing
mean,
is you
as
can't
shitty
bring
as they
evidence against them.
I just don't see them pushing that one because they've got.
Also, they might try it, but I have no idea if they're gonna try and do that, given the focus that's being paid right now to Mr. Brooks and
Oh, the black
also
nationalist terrorist.
Ms. Maxwell.
Yeah. So by Brooks, do you mean the
The
black
pedo ringleader.
nationalist terrorist, or is
Yeah,
it?
I mean the terrorist, the black nationalist, uh, race realist, etc., etc.
Oh, the guy who was saying that,
Yeah,
oh,
let's say that Hitler got the wrong Jews,
yeah,
because
or
he's one of the real Jews, or some shit like that.
yeah, curious that, curious.
Race, yeah.
Yeah, we're not.
So,
Oh, yeah, that's right, that's right. They held according to CNN. As a matter of fact,
right.
today, according to CNN, there was a
Today,
vigil
yes.
held for the car crash in Waukesha.
Well, you see, according to CNN, the car ran through all those people, all by itself, I guess.
Well, it was one of those self-driving cars, don't you know?
Oh, you see, that's always been a legal conundrum as to how do you account for the self-driving cars?
Well, in this
Is it
case, it
going to
was
be
a
under
person
that?
who saw themself as a self. But whatever,
Well,
There was
so
a
the
self
idea
driving
being,
the car, so whatever.
iRobot did in fact do a pretty good job explaining how this would go down, in theory at least, where it would be a faulty product brought back to the company for disassembly and investigation. And it would be a workplace accident, and that if it was inside the shop or in public, it would just be faulty equipment with public liability, which I'm sure they have insurance for. But seeing as it was a Ford Escape,
Mm.
which is not to my knowledge automated in any fashion,
Ironically enough,
unfortunately,
he
a
wasn't
dumb
actually
car decides
trying
do
to
that.
escape anything, despite what the media narrative has told us too.
Oh, he might have been trying to escape the voices in his head. We don't really know.
True, true. They did have him in a
Um,
suicide vest. Not that kind.
which I'm
Not
sure
that kind. The
it was.
one where you just don't have any stuff on it you can use to kill yourself.
I'm sure. I'm sure also that was
Because he'd
entirely
have
up to his
used it.
lawyers.
Just saying.
Um, yes, yes. He was the kind of guy who would slow down to get better aim and then speed up and zigzag to make sure he got everybody,
According to testimony, yes.
according to witness testimony, sworn witness testimony.
Yeah, yeah. That's an ugly one. Literally
it's
and
a shame
figuratively.
because it's very very stunning and brave. And I heard that the after the GoFundMe got spooked from lawsuits into getting rid of his GoFundMe, the BLM chapter, the local BLM chapter, decided to start raising $5 million for itself. So I'm
Just
kind of
randomly.
surprised.
Just
Kind of
randomly.
surprised given Kamala's previous proclivity for funding such ventures.
Yeah, I mean,
That
she
we haven't
has.
seen her name on that list yet.
Yeah, she
Or
has
GoFundMe's.
publicly endorsed terrorist organizations and fundraised for them. you'd think that that would be a disqualifying thing. You'd also think that, calling the person that's going to be your boss a racist would
To
also
his
be
face,
disqualified.
mind
Yeah,
you,
to his face would get you
which
kind of out of the
remains
running.
hilarious. Well, my favorite part is where
But hey,
later on she's complained about racism from the person she called racist to his face on national television, as if it was a surprise
and
that this was the case.
on that very topic of racism,
As if Robert Byrd championing him and mentoring him, as he did Hillary Clinton, somehow made a big secret that this person was racist.
but that being said, our friend old Negro Joe, he's apparently even more racist than we thought. He's put a
Jeez.
ban on the content of the continent of Africa. He's saying
Southern
that
part of it
this
so far.
well
7 countries in the southern end of it, unless he's expanded that to cover the rest of it.
no, it's actually still just those at the moment. But yeah, there's been a big call out. Like Ramaphosa has said, "Why are you being a racist, Joe? You yourself just said not but a few years ago how racist and xenophobic it was to put in one of these travel bans."
I mean, if you say a few years, but the racist Africa ban was last year under Trump. Then the racist Muslim ban was only a paltry 3 years prior, after Obama suggested all the countries that were on it, and it only affected it only didn't affect 93+% of the Muslim population on the planet. But apparently that last holdout percentage was representative of the whole somehow.
Yeah, interesting.
You had to go to number 7 on the list to get to one of the top 10 most populated Muslim countries. If you wanted to call them Muslim countries, because keep in mind, the way they were describing it was majority Muslim countries, as if they weren't countries of their own, but countries beholden to a religion. Kind of like African countries being countries beholden to a continent rather than being sovereign states. But I suppose that's between the racists and their mirror. I'm not going to get involved in that.
Yeah, speaking of racists and mirrors, that reminds me of something. There was a
Uh-oh.
Charlottesville massacre, right?
Yes, there was. Yes.
And there was a Waukesha crash. Now, if I'm not mistaken, there was one person that died in Charlottesville, I think.
Oh yes, but you
okay.
see, there's a very important distinction here. Is there was one trans individual who was an expat living in Germany to escape prosecution, who was very close to that car, even though they were like a block or two away. And they're very insistent that it was a terrorist activity that was going on.
Was this the one that pointed the gun at the person driving the car? Or was this somebody else?
I think this was this is well, we can just say who they are. A lunatic that lives over in Germany, expat, still talks like they're living in California.
Oh, how gauche.
I can't remember the name of this idiot anymore, but they have rainbows everywhere across their profile.
Oh, of
Good
course.
for them. I like the bright colors. Gorski, Emily Gorski.
I'm familiar with that name.
Good old Emily. Yeah, that's that.
Can't remember right offhand exactly from what, but I know I've heard it a few times.
You might have seen me trading some tweets with her before. Uh-oh, Steve's chiming in text. Yeah, look at us chatting it up.
Yeah, well, you're welcome to join, friend. But he's got stuff to do, so he probably won't be able to, unfortunately.
Yeah, it was Emily Gorski. That was that nut job. Anyway, enough of irrelevant people in Germany.
Indeed.
Although you heard about Germany wanting to create a new federation of European states.
You don't say. No.
It's like we're entering into the 1920s again. Oh, wait a minute.
Right.
Oh shit. Okay. Hey man, you gotta write what you gotta write. I know that feeling. I got feedback on a paper today, and I gotta get that shit done.
Yeah, well, it would appear that he's going to be very busy. He's got 5 pages of research paper to write,
Well,
and he's got it
he's
due by
got
Wednesday. So,
he's got 3 days. I've got till the 15th of next month.
well, that's a little bit better.
Yeah, it's a little more breathing room.
So, have you heard about the newest variant? You know, as we know, the last one was new, and as we know by Greek lettering, the next one is she.
Oh no, it's pronounced Xi.
Oh, see, I see. Oh,
Yes.
my mistake. See, I'm used to seeing
Yeah.
xi pronounced as G for some reason. Yeah, it would
Oh
make
yeah.
sense that the Greek wouldn't pronounce it that way. So it's xi, you say. So that's what they're calling it in the
Yeah.
news, right? I don't
Like
watch a
X.
lot of mainstream news, so is that not what they're doing,
Right.
or are they doing
It's
something different
it's
by chance?
well, you see, they just so I guess someone watched like a Transformers movie, and they got the name for Earth wrong.
Oh, so it's the Megatron
So it's
strain.
not well, it's not the Unicron strain, it's the Omicron strain. So they fucked that up. They very easily could have brought in, Optimus to save everybody, but no. And if you look at the history here on Next Strain, which I'll link for you here, and hopefully Steve won't look at it and start foaming at the mouth as he does.
Of
But if you
course.
just go ahead and take a look there, you can see this is in Africa. This is the chart for the phylogeny uh, over time, and it's colored by clade, so it's by different strains or different variants, if you will, or groupings that we call variants anyway. And you can see that there's one that in S1 mutations. There's one that's way up there all of a sudden, and that would be the Omicron strain. Now,
Hmm.
thankfully, some of the other strains have just kind of like petered out, like epsilon, iota.
Looks like this showed
Those
up in
are
July.
basically
Then.
well. So here's the interesting thing. So if you look at it the way it's set up, I guess so. So there's two ways to interpret that. There's either that it showed up like last year in May, or that it showed up in July. Maybe. But the colored dots are the sequenced specimens um, with known origin. Like there's actually people attached to them. So those are actual sequenced samples that are listed up there in the phylogeny.
Well, just
So you can actually, I mean, so
as
you
far
can
as it
switch
says
over to
on
like
this, just
global
as
or
a by
whatever.
the
But
by, the date code interval
yeah,
on this starts June 26th of this year.
yeah. So that
So
makes sense.
so yeah, it apparently showed
It's
up at the end of June. Which
yeah.
why would you draw the fucking lineup from that and not from what it's actually whatever?
So it's from the so it's based on the best estimate for relative prior relatives that it diverged from. And given the slowness of transmission in Africa in general, just from lower mobility of population, it makes sense that you could have a holdout that took a while to get to where it is, and there's no like correspondence for similar mutations on this chart here. It's just the total number of mutations. So if there's shared mutations or not, that's not given here. But it does list them under mutations where it says, blah blah blah, and then plus however many more. But there, that the origin point there on the plot there from uh, June or no July. That lists basically yeah, no, it's four mutations. If you slide along further though, there's over here that has a pile of mutations on it, and they just have total S1 mutations, and it's what's this up here? This is like 20 odd. I think some article had like 30 something listed. Basically, that's not good. Uh, it's the other thing, of course. There's more younger people that are infected. There's plenty of vaccinated people are infected. My guesstimate right now is that this is not going to be like the resistant strain, but probably the next one is.
Well, if you'll look,
But
I
this is
actually
probably
linked this
slid
up a
way
while
down the line.
ago, but I just
Yeah,
dropped it in the staff chat here as well. I put this out on
yeah.
Twitter as well. It's from because this has been looked at so far, and it's looking pretty
Well,
promising.
I saw that there was the bit about the mild cases and so on. My caution here is that and to be frank, like mild is better. It's very rapidly spreading. So 500% spread, so 5 times the spread rate of the wild type, so original virus
Well, but I mean that's kind of
is
been a
is a
thing with
lot.
all of them. I
Well,
mean,
yeah, they've been increasing in spread rate. They have been increasing in transmissibility. They've been increasing in the base of reproduction. So they say with all the mitigations in place, it has a higher reproduction base of reproduction number, or sorry, a higher effective reproduction number. So instead of R0 or R naught, it's RT, meaning the R value, effective R value at time. Um, so I mean, there's that. Uh, the the milder disease, that's good news. But again, a lot of the people that are being described in these articles are younger. So that's already where we're supposed to be expecting milder disease to begin with. So that's kind of a bit of a bias.
oh, that's fair.
And so, and I'm all for the optimism. I really am. I would love for this to just be a mild variant. We're coming into a fourth wave
Well,
for
from the
this.
initial info out of South Africa, it looks
Yeah.
that way. And
Well, I mean, the fact that it's already across the world, and so here's one of and without having any kind of Pavlovian response here, please. Fauci, to the name. Fauci is probably correct that it's probably somewhere in the U.S. already,
well,
just by the
it
numbers.
has been as of I want to say like 2 3 hours ago before recording. They had 2 cases in Canada, so yes, it is. It's in the continental
And
United States. It's in
and
the continental Americas, so the
yeah,
odds are strong that somewhere.
and so the smart thing to do at this point is not to ban 7 countries in Africa. It's to ban all international travel. Period. Just like if you did that, and this is the stupidest thing because it always comes down to this 2 weeks bullshit. If you did that for a couple incubation periods, or at least one incubation period, just like to have a dumbass compromise, if you will, that would get rid of the chance, like a lot of the transmission that could happen. Um, but remember, I'm talking about international border here. I think the state to state borders, um, that's where rights come in, as far as I'm concerned. States can just, the federal government's in charge of interstate transport, but they don't have the right to impose that kind of private info requirement to cross the state boundary.
Well, I mean, if we look at it from strictly the current rule set, it's a HIPAA violation to ask.
Well, that depends.
Well, no,
It is
okay,
not a
that I'm
violation. It is not a violation for a non-provider to ask. It is a
yeah.
violation for a provider to provide info unsolicited, or sorry, without the explicit express consent of the patient and/or their proxy, their legal proxy. So basically, a guy on the street can ask you about your medical info, no problem. A company can ask you about your medical info. If they ask your healthcare provider or any provider that's covering your information, your personal healthcare info, they cannot provide that info to whoever it is without your express written consent, or that of, like, say you're a kid, your legal guardian, or if you have a disability, then whoever's your medical proxy.
Okay, that was
But
kind of my
if
understanding.
they ask you, you can give it. They can't just like take it from you, unless you published it in public somewhere. So all those geniuses that are out there posting when they got their shots and how and all that, etc. All that info is already available to scrape from because it's all in public. They don't need to talk to a healthcare provider. Now, if a healthcare provider stupidly does something like opens up an API to their database without your consent, because they would need your consent, That's one of those things that I would find it odd at this point. It would be weird for them to attach it as a writer, but I could certainly see it as like an optional thing where you could like go to CVS or whatever, and then as a part of your little sign up process, tick a box that says, "Please allow my information to be accessed by whoever," and then have like public or private entities listed in the checkbox list.
Oh yeah, actually
Now I
putting
wouldn't
the person down to
release my
provide consent,
yeah
however
I
shadily you
wouldn't
do it. If you do it, I mean, you're doing
right
it at least.
now I wouldn't myself check that box because I would think I would want to know if somebody was accessing my healthcare information. And the thing I've been cautioning about with this is that it's not just whether or not you have a vaccine that these companies will collect if they're collecting info about you in order to allow you into their store. They're collecting your name, address, phone number, uh, and then probably some more of your health data, such as like your height and weight and so on. Once they, once they have that opening to collect data about you, it doesn't seem like it's worth a whole lot now, but it will be worth something to them later. And you can look at tertiary and quaternary markets on this, especially with insurance, where people might say, "Oh yeah, I'm in perfect health," and then never update their insurance info with their provider for years, and then later on, the provider might find out somehow through someone else selling your medical data what your blood pressure is, and say, "Oh, that's way too high. We need to change your premium." So, and you can contrive all kinds of crazy scenarios here, but the thing is that they're not all outside their own possibility, and it's not necessarily like a fraction of a fraction of a percentage edge case here. It's that these could be things that really do hit
Well, and
people,
let's be
and it
honest
wouldn't
too.
even be
The
through
insurance
malice.
agencies are out there kind of to fuck you and not give you the money
Well,
that you're owed.
like I was gonna say, it wouldn't even
So
necessarily be through malice.
this is right up their alley.
Yeah, but it's again, it's still not necessarily like out of malice that this would happen.
Oh
It's
yeah,
like I
no,
said,
they don't hate you out of
uh,
malice. They hate you because they don't have your
well,
money.
no, no. Well, the one company might say, "Here's this data." An insurance company might say, "Let's streamline blah blah blah." And as a part of that package deal they do in the back end, we get access to this to the vaccine data that has been opted into by the people getting their shots. And then from that, it might again, like I said, they might have a blood pressure involved somewhere or anything like that. And if you haven't updated your profile with the insurance company, they might do an internal audit based on the data they have collected. And if they get, they flag your account for not having a discrepancy, that might be reason enough for them to contact you and say, and here's the part where they fuck you. They probably wouldn't contact you and say, "Hey, could you provide us with updated info?" They'd probably contact you and say, "By the way, here's your updated rate."
Yeah, your account has been
You know,
updated, and therefore your new rates are.
exactly.
We've gone to the trouble of letting you know. Aren't you? Aren't you thankful?
Exactly. Yeah, it's so Aetna. I can conclusively say can go fuck itself for things like that.
I could see that
And
happening.
unfortunately, in certain places, Aetna is the only option you get, and
Well,
there's nothing you can do for some things because you can go all up, and from personal experience, you can go all the way up to the state ombudsman on certain things with current medical justification. And from the medical studies that were performed onward to present day, and the state ombudsman will still side with fucking Aetna.
oh, that's
So that
kind of
was a giant
disgusting.
waste of time. Yeah, it was pretty fucking horrifying.
Oh
Like,
boy.
but it's prescribed. Assholes. But yeah, so when I push back on you saying they're just out to fuck you, it's not out of me not believing they're just out to fuck you.
Because they
It's like
are, but it's not
they have a
malicious.
mechanical, but they have a mechanical process to fuck you. There's not
Oh
like
yeah,
a
no, that
guy with a
yeah,
stick
no, it's
out.
just the
They've
machine. It's
got
like that's just how it works.
they've just got the machine. They have gears that will do that for them.
Yeah, no, yeah. I should have been more specific and to say that they
And
are
then they
just
have a compassionate
stewards
voice
of
on
the
the phone
machine
line.
that is designed to fuck you.
And they have a compassionate voice on the phone that says, "Oh, we're sorry. We don't mean to fuck you. It's just that
Or possibly,
the
we are
dildo
very
was
sorry,
already
do not
ready."
meaning to fuck you. Very sorry.
I don't, I don't know. Aetna at least pays for fluent English speakers
Oh, do they?
without
Oh, well,
crazy accents. Yeah.
that's nice of them. That
Problem
way,
is
at
that
least you can get fucked in your own native language.
I was going to say the problem is that it's not necessarily clear whether or not it's an AI that's doing it or not.
Oh, even better. So you might be getting fucked by a random AI that's not even in your country, but just
Well,
poses as
let's
one.
just be clear. The AI part would only be the natural language processing unit that's trying to provide scripted answers to your complaints.
Ah, super. We live in such a progressive time. Oh, but just
Oh,
to,
very progressive.
oh, very. But just to put a bow on the last topic on the South African
Certainly.
variant that's coming out here, I'd like to actually specifically quote the uh, who is she?
Oh,
The
please do.
chairwoman of the South African Medical Association, Angelique. I'm gonna say Coetzee because that looks like it, and I'm not terrible with accents.
Coetzee. Coetzee.
Coetzee?
I believe it's Coetzee.
It would be one or the other.
Like Coetzee. Coetzee.
Yep. Yeah, and I don't know the first thing about Afrikaans, so yeah. But anyway,
Mm-hmm.
that said, her specific quote is, "We will only know this after 2 weeks. Yes, it is transmissible, but for now, as medical practitioners, we do not know why so much hype is being driven as we are still looking into it. We will only know after 2 to 3 weeks, as there are some patients admitted, and these are young people aged 40 and younger," just like you said. But yeah,
So I
so
want to go ahead and put
as
some
is
cautions on that.
as is the
Oh, go
case,
ahead.
hype beast.
So I'll say this: the cautionary principle, without referring necessarily to a strict medical interpretation here, says that you should have your shit in gear as of yesterday. So before the panic really sets in, my advice is to make sure go over your stuff, see what you have, list up what you need, find out what the difference is, and then make sure you square that away with like this week. Um, because I mean, if you don't think another lockdown could come out of it, again, the worst case scenario is that you've got some extra food that you rotate into your normal meals over the next 6 months. But the annoying case is that we do have lockdowns and you have your stuff already in your house. So there's that. So things like fresh water, batteries, et cetera, et cetera. I know it's fatiguing to go through this shit over and over again. And another thing, I want to go ahead and correct this little bit of misinformation I saw. It's not just 4 people that got this or 10 people that got this. It's hundreds in South Africa. There's a handful of escapes to various countries around the planet already that are known. So it's likely that it's already gotten to most of the places that COVID's already shown up in. Um, but it's not like everywhere yet, and we're at the very beginning, probably of a wave. I haven't checked my data thing to see anything, but I have that graphic that I repeated on Twitter a while ago. But it looks like another wave is going to come in. So my suggestion is that regardless of how sarcastic or cynical you have to be about it, you may as well expect it, because again, the best case scenario there is that you end up having extra food, and the annoying case is that you're prepared to stay home for a little bit when all this shit happens again. And believe me, I'm hurting financially too. It's just the way it is. But um, this is one of those little things where you kind of leap ahead a little bit to stave off some of the harm later. So there's that.
Yeah, well, it's wise to be ready for anything that might
Yeah,
come along.
regardless of what you feel about Fauci or vaccines or anything else, like just
Which, and
the
it's totally
pragmatic
reasonable to hate the
baseline
guy.
here.
He's been at this shit
He's
for
a
30
piece of shit.
years. He's been lying to people and causing innocent people to die for no reason for like 30 years.
He had the fucking nerve to bring up January 6th when his ass is probably responsible for at least half of the 700 and whatever the fuck it is thousand people that died.
Oh, and how long ago was it that you were just a fucking crazy conspiracy theorist asshole if you tried to suggest that they would make such a thing as a quarantine camp?
Oh, Australia, yeah.
Yeah, and now we've got a number of
There's
organizations
rumblings for the U.S.,
that
but
are
there's
just running
definitely in
complete
Australia.
interference for him.
Yeah, and then so I used to talk with Claire Lemon often enough because she used to be in the circle of people I would talk to, and then she went nuts before her whole Quillette thing kind of took off. And like she has her phases where she'll come back from that, but like she doesn't talk to me anymore, or most of the people I that we were she was in the group with. But like she's sitting there posting fucking pictures from these quarantine camps. Just people sunning themselves and looking pretty and what. It's just fucking photo op nonsense. I wonder what the fuck she's doing, but I have a good idea what she's doing. She's probably getting paid, which I can't really blame her for in this economy. But at the same time, like
Well, you kind of
the
can't, but you
fascist
also
nutcase,
can blame people for not having a
I can,
soul.
yeah, yeah, that's where I would go with that. Like
It's like, yeah,
she's
you,
fucking
you
nuts
can
right
make a
now.
buck, but you know what? You could maybe, instead of making $2, make one and retain your
Well,
human soul. Just
it's
just
it's
putting
like
that out
it's
there.
like it's like Philip Morris lawyers. Put it like that. Oh yeah, there's no cancer that's not involved with smoking. Are you kidding me? Fucking putzes.
That being
But yeah,
said, I absolutely and wholeheartedly recommend Thank You for Smoking. Excellent film, very informative,
yes,
and genuinely entertaining. Uh, it gets
yes
a
it is.
two paws up from me.
Fucking fur bags. God damn.
Oh, come on now.
I will not. That is sexual harassment, sir.
Come on, man.
I think actually the same exact rebuttal applies there, doesn't it? I just have to say it in a younger voice.
Maybe. I don't know.
Let me just put my balls back up here for a second.
I don't. Whatever. Actually, I do get it because it's funny, but it's just kind of a whatever kind of thing. I almost care enough to bring
it's
it
a
up,
crude
but it's
joke.
like, yeah, you know what? Whatever. Furries are
Oh, him touching
Fullies
little
are
boys
too
again?
weird. What's this?
Said, you mean Joe Biden touching little boys again?
Oh, did he do it again?
I don't have the picture of the tweets on me right now, but there was another video that went around of him uh manhandling yet another child.
Oh, okay. I
You probably saw it in the last week or so.
yeah. It's. I think I know exactly which one you're talking about, and he gets really, really, really handsy.
Yeah, that
Like,
disturbs me every time I see that shit.
yeah, getting as close to kids is like he was Ghislaine
Like
Maxwell or something, you know?
I got young family like the age that he would target, and it just disturbs me. Like I know there's like a snowball's chance in hell he's gonna get that close, but like whenever you see that kind of person, it just makes you viscerally reject the scenario. Like you just want to. And the thing is, like I know I'm never gonna be in a position or close enough, and thank God. But like it makes you feel like you need to do something
Oh,
because like
and
protect the kid. Your brain, human brain's fucked up, man.
people are fucked up. So I
There's
will.
that too.
I'll throw a link in here to the bit from the. Well,
The offending video.
no, actually from Australia.
Ah.
Their
Oh yes,
head
yes,
dude
that
saying,
does
yeah,
look
we're gonna
explains
be
it.
calling in people to where they're calling in the
Yeah,
army and shit to
the
actually haul people
police
out of their fucking homes.
the police are gonna be going to haul people off. Isn't that crazy, huh?
Yeah, all
And
this
that
shit
that
that
would
would have
never
got you
happen.
banned, not all that many months ago for
Well, I
even
mean, it's kind
suggesting
of
it.
like the lab leak theory. Still, that's got like what a few different movies coming out about it now,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. There's a
That lab leak that never was gonna happen. It was all natural, definitely, even though none of the animals were there. That was a pretty funny experience, huh?
that
And there's
reminds.
that video of Peter Daszak in testimony from like a couple years prior, explaining exactly what was going on over in Wuhan.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Well, speaking of
Yeah,
unfortunate, that
well,
reminds me of a funny meme. Here, I'll link it to you so you can
okay.
see it in chat. But I can just describe it. It says, I remember when this guy used to create viruses in Windows and then sell the antivirus. I wonder what he's doing now. Of course, that's got a picture of our friend Mr. Billy Gates.
Oh,
He's a
sure.
fun guy, that Bill.
Well, I see people keep talking about him in terms of like vaccines and such, which I think is is so inappropriate is not the right way to say it. Misguided really doesn't quite hit it either. It Vaccines are not the problem. Vaccines actually, he's done a wonder getting vaccines out to Africa, despite certain propaganda to the contrary.
Well, he's also done
His
some other
foundation's
really
done
chintzy shit too. But yeah, he has actually
his
spread a lot of
foundation
vaccines.
has done his foundation has provided a lot of free vaccines to Africa, despite strings or blah 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 otherwise. The point being here, the major problem that he presents to the United States is that he owns so much farmland.
Yeah,
He owns so much of our food production,
yeah, that's weird.
and he's still buying it up as
Yep.
much as he can.
Yeah, he is.
And that is our problem, because if we ever have a supply chain issue, he is thinking forward ahead about things, and so basically he has enough of our food supply under his hand right now. Imagine if he put his hand down and crushed it.
Yeah,
Imagine if we built condos or some shit there instead. We wouldn't be able to feed anybody. So, like, it's not that he owns it; it's that it is a single entity that can do a lot of dumb shit that market forces can't correct.
yeah,
At least not without like a severely violent situation to free up that resource.
yeah. That's basically the only recourse there, and that's
Oh, yeah,
a little discouraging.
right. So, like I said, the all the stuff about viruses and like he's not involved in that way. He's provided a lot of good funding to do a lot of research
Well,
for
to be
positive
fair, we
outcomes.
can't say. I don't know what's in the heart of Bill Gates,
Positive
and neither do
outcomes.
you. But
I'm just saying, like
he's
at the end
done
of the
some
day,
chintzy shit in his day.
I don't
If
know
we
if
take
that's
it
gonna
all
be
at
like
face
the
value,
thing.
though, even if let's just take it,
Sure.
let's take him at face value and say that he
Sure.
is indeed doing this because he really does want to save the largest number of human lives.
He's also just a
There's
fucking weird guy.
He absolutely
Just
is.
gotta throw that
But
out
there's
there.
a lot of wiggle room in saving the largest number of human lives. If you
Yeah.
put a lot of
So,
humans in a box and seal it closed, they're going to be safe. They're going to be very safe.
or say inside of a tube and then feed them bugs. Yeah, I get it.
Right. So, it's all
Well, I was gonna
it's
say
all
you can go
interesting
back to the
questions.
iRobot allegory here again, where it's my logic's undeniable. Okay, Hal. But it's I don't see the vaccines being the thing that he would use. I think squeezing the food supply, which he has a large hold on, would be far simpler and more cost effective if you want to start putting it into a numbers perspective.
Well, that's true, but I mean, when you consider the amount of money that the guy's got, cost effective isn't exactly something that has to
Well,
concern him.
he would not have the amount of money he has right now if cost effective did not enter into things.
Well, I understand that and I appreciate it, but once you get to a
The cost
certain level,
effectiveness the cost effectiveness of providing free vaccines to Africa is that you get a significantly larger population of people that are taking them that you can observe outright. Even if we know they're safe, you can get better aggregate data on utility for larger populations across a larger variety of the gene space. Just That's just the way it is. There's more haplotypes that you have available, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
I kind of wish they had thrown all this shit down to the Africans then instead of us, because I tell you, the
Well,
numbers
they
look
were.
really good in
They
some
are
places.
sending lots of the. So we have exported more vaccine as a country than the rest of the world combined. If you didn't know that, we have exported more vaccine for just COVID COVID alone, we've exported more vaccine than every other country combined.
Yeah, it depends on who you ask. I mean, no. I'm not saying you're wrong, but it literally
Well,
does
fine.
depend on who you ask
Just
because
looking at
I've
just
seen
looking at
so much
Johnson and Johnson,
complaint.
it's just looking at Johnson and Johnson. It's probably still true.
Actually, no, that one I know was very, very, very widely distributed. As a matter of fact, there were people that were. I heard a couple of cases actually where people were just complaining about how they were devaluing the Johnson and Johnson brand by giving this to so many people, and people might think that this one is inferior because we're just giving this to the homeless and immigrants
I mean,
and this, that, and the other.
Personal touch there to my girlfriend and her family. Well, actually, her mother and father at this point. Her having previously had an infection. I think no, actually, she got hers. Never mind. But anyway, so South America, they're distributing it down there as well.
But I have some legitimately good news about the southern border.
Oh, okay.
Finally, it's only taken 2 court orders, but the Remain in Mexico policy will be back.
Yes, another Trump policy is back.
Excuse me. So
I like how every time they bring up something like this, it's Trump's policy, but every time they bring up the vaccine, it's Biden's victory.
Yeah, never mind.
As if they didn't.
Yeah, Biden was right. He was right there with Officer Harris too. Like, I don't know if I'd trust a Trump vax. I don't know, and they're they're still fucking going with the same one, fucking one. It's not even a new one. It's not even for the fucking Delta. It's not for anything. It's the same goddamn vax as it was at the first fucking start. It's like telling people to take your 2019 fucking flu shot today. Get your 2019 flu shot. But why isn't there one for this year? Yeah, but fuck that. Get the 2019 flu shot.
So the pharmaceutical companies are looking into the variants. They have time horizons for when they will have them updated, 100 days or so. So we're looking at early 2022 when vaccine would be available.
Oh, sweet. We'll be able to treat the Delta early next year. Great.
Well, here's the thing. So this is as pertaining to Omicron. What I'm worried about is that they might do something extra stupid, like skip Delta. What they should do is have updates for everything that we know of so far, all in one shot, and just give that to people, and we can cover the whole basis right there and then. They can do the weighted distributions to cover the various variants, better or worse given their prevalence and seropositivity. But the most important thing is that there's at least some of all these different variants present, so that it's covers all of the targets, and we don't have this gigantic gap, because it's not just the time it takes from beginning of formulation to release to public, it's also the time it takes for the public to take the fucking vaccine. That window of time was enough for us to create the Delta wave this past summer. It takes a while. People, there's vaccine hesitancy for people who just there's people who don't want the vaccine, period. That's okay. My personal opinion for the people who can take it that don't want to, that's silly, but that's not my choice. It never should be. There's the people who want it but can't get access to it easily. We had the different phases early on this year. That took a while. And then when it became general public consumption, in April, it took a while before people really picked up on that. There's wait lists, we had distribution issues. We kind of got a lot of that stuff down now. So that's good.
And funny enough, this actually does dovetail.
It's going to take a while.
Well, this actually, too, it dovetails in with what we were just talking about. And this is the only good thing I'm going to say about this new process. As much as I legitimately don't support any of the vaccines that are commercially available now, because they're essentially worthless.
reasons.
This new one offers to every one of those Remain in Mexico people the vaccine.
So here's something I'll say about the vaccine. So we talked before about vaccine or immune evading, and then there's also prior immunity resistant. How the one is the slippery slope, that would be the evading, and then resistant is the hard bottom of it, where you've got no, it's like a brand new thing. There's no prior immunity for you. We're sliding down that slope pretty far. Like I said, I don't think Omicron is going to be one of the resistant variants. I think it's going to be.
Well, no, from what I've seen on that, actually, it's the vaccines
there's 3 metrics.
and the previous infections work well, not perfectly, but well enough to keep you from having to go to a hospital largely.
So, well, this is what I was going to say. There's 3 metrics that we got to consider there. We've got symptomatic infection, we have hospitalization, and we have death. So there's fine-grained details you can go into, but those are the big 3 people look at. And symptomatic infection, we're losing the battle on that one pretty quickly here. Delta already kind of showed that there's like a 39% effectiveness-ish, less than 50% effectiveness from the vaccines relative to being non-vaccinated and no prior immunity from the prior infection. So the next step is hospitalization. Vaccines are still holding pretty well on that, and death still holding up pretty well against that. My guess is that Omicron is going to start chipping away at hospitalization, and the next one after that would be a resistant strain probably, or maybe maybe the second one after that, and that would be where all 3 of them basically go into the toilet. There's just no immunity left. You don't get any extra benefit out of it. So when you're talking about giving these Remain in Mexico asylum seekers, fucking economic migrants,
Illegal aliens.
Well, I mean, when they're in Mexico, they're not illegal aliens here, at least.
Well,
but
they are there, but yeah.
At this right, so you talk about giving these people the vaccine from 150 different nations, 190 different nations, and that is true. They're not just coming out of Nicaragua.
Are you trying to imply that there are people from Haiti that are coming through Mexico to get into America? That sounds like fake news.
I'm trying to imply that there's also people from fucking Canada trying to come in through Mexico. So when we're talking about giving them the vaccine,
you hear that, Todd? You hear that?
Yeah.
You know I'm talking to you.
We're talking about giving them the vaccine. That will serve a purpose. That does help them. At least, so and the transmission differential still exists between people, vaccinated and unvaccinated. There is still I'll say this: in prior immunity, no prior immunity. That's a better context for this. There's still a transmission gap for transmissibility between persons inside the home. So unvaccinated had a 35% chance of transmitting from them. So keep in mind, a transmission has 2 parties involved, the from and the to. So transmission from no prior immunity person was about 35% chance of transmission. So a contribution to the transmission group, if you will. And from vaccinated, because it was only looking at vaccinated, unvaccinated, and I'm guessing they screened out prior immunity. From unvaccinated. So from vaccinated, it was about 25%. So there is that. So my guess is that this will reduce transmission. So either way, it'll reduce transmission somewhat. It's not going to be like...
Well, I mean, as we've talked about, it's a leaky vaccine.
There.
So
right now it is. With Delta, it is. So
I was literally just bitching about this, but 2 minutes ago, I was yelling into this goddamn mic about it.
But with the wild type and several early variants, it is not really a leaky vaccine.
That's true. That's true.
It's very effective for those variants in the original virus. So that's the reason why they're gone. Natural immunity, same deal. Very effective at getting rid of those early on variants.
Absolutely.
What we're seeing right now is later stuff that was allowed to fester without any kind of vaccine response. We can move faster than we can literally move like on our feet with an airplane thereafter, faster than natural selection in this case. So we can make a vaccine and get it to everybody and quench it. It's still a thing that can like any time during a pandemic, we can do that as a species. We're that sophisticated. We've been that sophisticated for decades. It's just that and this is always going to be the torment of an optimist. We lack the will to do it. Fine. It's just the way it is. And again, I don't think that choice should be taken from people. I think I can totally understand the frustration of people that peeling their hair out of their heads. And I know that's more gruesome than pulling, but you get the gist here.
Sure.
I can totally catch their I can see their worldview where they're so frustrated that people are choosing to not get rid of a deadly pandemic. Fine. Um, what they aren't considering is the context of what we'd be giving up, and that is rights that have been paid for in blood already, that are paid for in blood every day. We shouldn't throw those away.
Being paid
They
for
they
still today in blood.
Millions of people have died already, more than people have died due to the disease in this country, and to just throw away those rights is to spit in their graves. And I don't see a reason like if you're going to start comparing numbers and start going batshit crazy on that stuff, we can go back and look at the world wars, just those alone, let alone the rest of the wars we've been in. And we don't have to look at just our side of the battlefield. We can look at all the people that died as a consequence of them.
Well, we'd better do that
Those
quickly
people,
before Wikipedia goes and deletes all the entries of
right?
mass homicides from
Yeah, I
communism.
threw my 2 cents in on that one. Strong keep.
Because
Popular opinion.
they're working hard to
So
correct the
yeah, so
record.
the Wikipedia is a lost cause. It's never been a reference anyway.
Yeah, there's a
So
reason why it's always been listed as something like,
yeah.
listen, you can't cite Wikipedia.
But again, the major point here is that tens of millions of people have died. Millions of people have died holding a gun in our flag. There's no reason to spit on their graves in the present and throw away our rights so that we have to spend millions of lives again to get them back. Because once you hand them away, they aren't handed back to you. There's no, oh, ho, ho, that was temporary. Here you go.
Yeah, rare is the politician that gives you back what he takes.
Those are called privileges. So unless you consider your rights to be temporary privileges, a la George Carlin, who was a pragmatist in his time, unless you consider your rights to be temporary privileges that are handed to you by the state, um, they're your rights, God given and so on. They're inherent to your existence. And to allow the government to stomp on them is a really bad idea because they'll just keep doing it until you fight back. And
And then
again,
they'll keep doing it.
millions, tens of millions of people have died for these things, these ideas that we take for granted every day. It's just the way it is.
Oh,
It
well,
sucks. That's the way it is.
like the 14th
Power
Amendment,
likes power.
as a matter of fact. That's a really good example there. You know, the 14th Amendment was made to ensure that freed men and their children were citizens. That's all.
Yeah.
Period. That's it. Freed men and their children were citizens. That's all.
Well, slavery is another thing you can go back to. And this is one of the funny thing is that this is one of those things that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden decided to harp on when they're trying to target Trump for the vaccines. I don't trust him because he experimented on my people. Well, you know why they're not supposed to be able to do that anymore, right? Because those rights were fought for and won. They're now codified in the Constitution.
Well, in Kamala's case, it's more that she's real sore that she's not allowed to do it anymore. Because I mean,
yeah,
her family
background was,
being that she's got a long history and personal history, for that matter, of enslaving people. Indeed. Yeah, I mean the Harris,
in particular, because we go on with this language, in particular, people of color.
Oh yeah, absolutely, who have arguably committed minimal crimes. I mean, just a simple pot conviction, and she'll turn you into a slave while she smokes that very same pot in the DA's office and listens to Tupac.
For well after you're supposed to be out of prison.
Yep, that's just Officer Harris. That's just how she rolls.
on the order of a year or two of your life after you're supposed to be let out of jail.
Yeah, I mean, kind of making
And then
light,
laugh
but I
about it.
mean, legitimately, she's a monster. She is everything that a corrupt cop is, that you might see in a television show or movie, if they still made them
Oh
that were
yeah.
good.
And she laughed about this shit. That's the thing that should tell you exactly how she feels. She's the dumb politician in the room, mind you. She's the one who openly laughs about it out loud in public. But they're all doing it. There's no like, there shouldn't be any pretense, and it doesn't matter what the letter is after their name. Democrats, Republicans, they all do it. They live off power. So this is the reason. One of the reasons why I want term limits is they're all corrupt. It's just a fact of the nature of the job. Once they show up there, they're irredeemable, in my opinion. Some of them are better about it than others. Some of them are honest about it more so than others. But a lot of them aren't, and none of them have to be because they get elected again.
Well, when you build a system in such a way that it's very easy to ensure that you get a
I
particular
mean,
result, if you, do a particular
yeah,
thing, then, it's not hard to keep your job. Like when you get 27,000 votes in a particular single drop box that only 7 people visit, you can, make things happen, as it were. Pull some strings.
well,
And I had I had a topic that was like
works.
a really, really great segue, but we've kind of moved on from it. But either way, it's
Oh,
still funny, so we're going with it.
please do.
So
No.
now there's this dog antihistamine that's used in canines, dogs, as it were. You've heard of them. They
Yeah,
bark. They have
yeah.
tails. You may have heard of them. They're a man's best friend, as it's been said. Well, there's this thing that they give to dogs that bark, dogs, called,
Benadryl,
yeah, called Benadryl.
diphenhydramine.
Yeah. So, man, this is gonna be it's gonna be really interesting seeing how they spin Benadryl into a dog antihistamine, because unfortunately it works to assuage COVID, and
Yeah, what was
we
that
can't have
funny
that.
thing from last year in February that people were saying that you're gonna need your H1H2 agonists, things like I don't know, over the counter antihistamines,
Yeah. So make sure and go out
things
and get
like
your Benadryl before it
diphenhydramine.
becomes before it becomes prescription only.
Yeah, fucking hell. Or Joe Rogan promotes it, and then the stores are just empty, and then people overdose on it because oh god, I got the wrong thing.
Right.
Even though that
Well,
hardly
that'll be
happens.
the media narrative anyway. It's like everybody's
Yeah.
taking too much Benadryl, and they're all
You see, I love that you
going
can
to
just
bed too early.
ask them. You should just ask them, okay, who? And then they
Well, that
look at you and
guy
say,
at
why
that
don't you trust
place,
this? Why don't you
the
trust the
one
media? What's
at
wrong
the
with you?
place where the thing happened. He had hair or didn't have hair, but that guy.
Well, it was a Chihuahua.
Possibly, yeah. Well, as I said, it is a known dog antihistamine. They give it to dogs, don't you know? But I'm honestly kind of
I just
expecting
can't.
that to
I'm
be
waiting for.
the narrative on that
I'm
one.
waiting for Allison Tau Alpha Rho Delta to come on to her CNN role there. Who is this 4chan? God, Allison
Oh,
Camerata should never ever be on TV again. She is so fucking dumb.
oh. Speaking of, which one is it? The one who makes everything worse. Lindsay Ellis? I want to say Lindsay Ellis.
Kind of all of them.
Oh, well, that's distressing.
Well,
Um,
while we're on the subject of oil,
uh, let me pause you for one quick half second. I cannot verify this, but it's really like no bullshit horrifying. I'm gonna try and I can include a link to the
right?
tweet, so I'll do that because
Archive.
there's some. Oh, it's from Gab, so it's not going anywhere.
Archive.
Fair enough. Yeah, Gab might go somewhere. But yeah, this is just some breaking shit. There's apparently, or oh,
It's from Gab, so I would take a
okay.
fucking large
So
mountain of
this is
salt.
either okay. This is
I'm an
probably
account that no
a
longer
troll.
exists. I just got this. Are you sure they're not suspended?
Oh, oh wow. That's
Because
oh
what
well.
did I say about archiving shit, huh?
Okay. Let me copy the link to these. See if they still exist. I think. Oh, I'll bet you I know exactly what happened here. All right. Let's see if the images are still extant. Oh shit, they're not. Okay. Well.
Yeah, the account that no longer exists.
Okay.
So what you
I'm
should
gonna.
probably do right now is get a screen cap
Oh,
and
I've
put
got it
that
in
away.
TweetDeck, so I've actually got the full size images. Oh man, so old Torva got a little ballsy. All right, so he put out some
Yeah.
bumper stickers here. Says the Black Lives Matter Christmas Parade Massacre has a QR code, and as I'm reading over it, on the smaller one it says casualties of the BLM hate in Waukesha. Lists the name of all the people that died, and then more than 60 others. So I saw the thing. I was like, oh shit, we're dealing with maybe somebody setting up some copycat shit.
Yeah.
Oh, but Torba was being spicy, and it has
Oh,
unknown
here.
error.
So,
Interesting. So it's not suspended. Weird.
eh,
Anyway, I'm gonna copy
yeah,
these
if you're
and
getting an
save
error
them.
in TweetDeck, yeah,
Yeah, I know.
I'd copy that shit right
Page
away.
no longer exists. Yeah,
Suspended. Yeah.
that's I got a little spicy there, friend. A little too spicy for Twitter. All right.
That guy's just such a dipshit.
I mean, Torba does really toe the line
Well,
anymore.
in my opinion, he's well past cross the line. He's an anti-vaxxer. Like, there's room for religious exemption, et cetera, and then he goes on to say, from a biology basis, from a pragmatic basis or whatever, here's why you don't need the vaccine, blah blah blah, and then just, all right, pal, you've gone over the edge.
I gotta be honest. I don't support anybody taking any of the ones that are out now. So I guess I technically am, but then again, I'm not. So what the fuck do you say?
Baka.
Yeah, yeah. Well, everything's gotten so complicated, and I mean, half of the shit we're told anymore is lies. So I mean, what do you do?
Well, again, as long as you're an informed consumer, then I think that it is reasonable for you to take the vaccine if you want to decrease your chance of hospitalization and death, whatever the
Yeah,
chance may be. As far as reducing your ability to get infected, that is slowly becoming irrelevant for the current vaccines. Just the way it is. But the when he said that shit and how he said that shit, just he's an anti-vaxxer. Just no more room for it. Been that way for a while. I'm pretty sure I already ranted on here a couple times before.
oh yeah, I know you've got.
So
I know there's
go
no
listen
love
to
lost
previous
between you and
episodes.
Torba. So
Go listen to previous episodes if you must. Well, like I said, I take it as a principal position where I give him the benefit of the doubt on those things. But it's not like I'm not seeing the emails he sends to my ass, so I can go ahead and read them and think what I will.
yeah, well, fair enough. And where it
Yeah.
is, he's what can I say about Torba? I mean, I'm gonna say that the man's heart is in the right place, and that he is doing good work that needs to be done. I think what has happened to him, if I'm going to be entirely honest, is that the man's been so deeply persecuted that he's developed a bit of a complex over it. Like, I mean, Gab's been shit on and shit on and shit on and
It
chased
has.
down
It
for,
has.
and for the longest time, for literally no reason. So now he's just all
Well,
in.
there was a reason behind it. There was a reason. It's the fact that he had challenged the heterodox, and and because he did that, because he stood up and said, "I'm going to go ahead and plant my own flag right here." You know, places like Patreon, due to Mastercard, and then several banks, et cetera, all crapped on him, banned him, et cetera, et cetera. His, not just business accounts, but personal accounts. And I get it. Various hosting companies have dropped him. The various content delivery systems. So various different CDNs, different virtualization, and basically anti DDoS services like Cloudflare.
Mm-hmm.
So distribution networks, etc. He's been put through the ringer on this, just for saying I'm not going to enforce the same kind of rules Twitter is.
Yeah, and
And
not only that, I mean,
Mastercard,
he's got his own set of rules that are actually, in their own way, fairly strict. But
fairly,
they're
I
not
mean, you
strict
can't
in
go
the
on.
right way.
Well, for instance, you can't go on to Gab and start. There's certain things you can't just go on to Gab and start doing. Like
Like,
probably can't go on to
Gab is
Gab.
a porn-free place.
Right.
It's like
Same
there's
way,
no
like
porn.
I'm guessing that the audience is probably isn't going to know "Pray for Batman," or as I call him, Bats. He got onto what the hell's that, Parlor, and posted something about a certain politician consuming a certain substance only mammals produce out of a certain person's, um, and got banned for obscenity,
Yeah.
which was hilarious.
Parlor is...
I think
And
it
yeah,
was
you
Ted
can find me
Cruz
there. I never
drinking
post, but...
drinking. I think it was Ted Cruz drinking breast milk or something. It was funny, and then he posted the Morgan Freeman titty sprinkles meme, and he got banned for obscenity.
I believe that. And that's the thing. It's
So
like...
I mean, these places say that they're free speech, but they all have their limits, and it's
So
retarded
that being
because
said, you should absolutely follow the both of us on
yes,
minds.com because they
yes,
actually do. I've seen
they are
some
free
wild,
speech.
wild shit on Minds that used to be the... Minds is like 10 years ago Twitter.
It's pretty close. I'll
I mean,
say
the
that. Yeah,
interface is different, and it's much more slick than 10
yeah,
years ago Twitter. But it's all right. I
yeah.
should post more there because
I should too.
it's actually just decent, but I just forget to, and I don't get any interaction, so I just kind of don't. Whereas, I get plenty of
Yeah.
interaction on Twitter.
Well, so
And
anything that would do like that's what we need is a cross posting tool. Quite frankly, like a good
absolutely.
cross posting tool.
I mean, if nothing else, I'd like to have a way to just be able to get out all the show notifications at once. So, hey, if anybody's listening, by the way, that knows of such a thing, do please hit me
Or
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 Craig up
hint
at
hint hint to a friend of mine if you could just write one. Except you're gonna have to learn a language that isn't Java, the shittiest of all interpreted languages.
So you're saying that your friend will have to grow as a person.
Yeah,
So
he's
you're
gonna have
providing an
to.
opportunity for someone to become better and greater than they are today.
He's gonna have to. He's gonna have to move out of his little baby shoes and program with a real man's language. There's many to choose from.
Oh, and I have got some brand new breaking news. Unsurprising,
Uh-oh.
but pretty much
Okay.
expected. Japan's closed their borders. They're doing
Oh
the
yeah.
smart thing.
Yeah.
No foreigners are coming into Japan as of now. If you're there, you're there. If you're not, well, you're gonna have to
Yep.
wait.
Knew that was coming. Knew it was coming.
Which, I mean, that's reasonable. Oh yeah, I better
Yeah, like I
might as well
said,
delete this
just
cap.
close the borders to all countries right now, and do it for a few weeks, month or two, and that should quench a lot of the. So it's one of the things that's the problem is that these waves when they start up, there's no way to like clip them off because for whatever fucking reason, countries have decided I'd rather go through the pain of an entire wave than just go ahead and cut it off at the heels. Just lop it off early, and you don't have that giant ass spike in cases.
Well, I'm told by Nancy Pelosi that would be racist,
Oh
sir.
God. Yeah, Nancy fucking Pelosi. She had the gall to say Happy Hanukkah at night, even though she's basically one of the crew that likes to send money to state-sponsored terrorism over in the Middle East. But that's, I guess, not my problem.
Well, I don't know. Maybe you could get some ice cream from your ice cream refrigerator. You've got one of those, right? To ease your
Mine's not
pain.
made out of vodka either. Mine's not made out of vodka either.
Mm. Ah, Nancy. I'm going to go ahead and get
Everyone's
off onto a
normal.
little bit of a tangent here. Did you happen to see when she got to meet the Pope? I want to say this was last month or the month before.
I saw it, but there was something stupid about it. What the hell was it? I'm sorry.
You
Please go
might
on.
be thinking of Joe Biden meeting him when he was like,
No, that was the pants shitting event. There
"Oh
was
no,
something
not
about
just
her
that,
though.
not just that." There was the pants shitting thing, but there was the part that was televised where he was like, "So you're from the African basketball leagues?" Yeah, crazy enough, he actually said something about like it was either the African American football leagues, basketball leagues, or baseball leagues, and he said it to the Pope. It's the weirdest shit, but that's neither here nor there. The Pope just kind of gave one of those weird smiles and just whatever, and then he probably shit himself not long after that. So, I mean, I don't even like the anti-Pope, and I kind of feel bad for him for that one. But anyway, when Nancy,
Well, imagine the smell.
oh yeah, like smells probably like half digested little girl hair and who knows what else. Anyway, I know, yeah, probably half digested little boy hair too. Anyway, so
Oh, he's an equal opportunity rapist,
probably, allegedly, anyway.
allegedly.
But allegations aside, when Nancy got to meet him, like I want to say during Trump's era or maybe Obama, but when she did, it was really kind of nothing special. It was just like, oh hey, shake hands, whatever, you're a person in line. This
Right.
time up,
This time was different.
it really was. Even though
Right.
she is in exactly the same political position that she was the previous time. Literally
Right.
nothing has changed officially for her. But this time she handled herself. I'm just going to kind of break it down as someone who has the skill set necessary to read people because I just spent time and I bothered to learn. So the body language there is absolutely fascinating. She's gone. I mean, she's in a subservient state, obviously, because I think she's supposedly a Catholic. So, meeting the quote unquote Pope, anti Pope, anyway. But meeting Francis would be a big thing for her. And she was appropriately starstruck. That came across. But where before she was just some person that was meeting, somebody that's going to put stars in her eyes. This time, she was still a person meeting somebody that's going to put stars in her eyes, but it's like, I am someone important who has come here representing something important. And that's very telling. Because we know that Joe is essentially just a skin suit that does nothing more than sniff the nearest child or have his scoop of ice cream or read whatever happens to be on his teleprompter, such as close quote. Which, by the way, just a quick aside from what I'm talking about here, there is a full quote to when Joe said that, when he said, end of quote. He did start out the quote by saying, this, I'm going to quote whoever. But what that says is that he's obviously reading from a teleprompter. As opposed to reading, complete idiocy from a teleprompter, they already know he's an idiot, so they just put it in there that way. He just read it too fast and made it
Also,
sound stupid.
teleprompters typically will have instructions inside, and other other famous people have read teleprompter instructions before.
Yeah, at
So he's
this.
certainly not the first person to look like an idiot, but he's definitely the kind of person who
Well, I'm
has
gonna.
had extensive experience in office, as I've been told,
Oh
as
yeah.
a reason for him to be elected president. So the
Mm-hmm.
kind of person who should not be making such mistakes, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well. Anyway, what's happened with that is. Ah, shit. Ah, damn
Okay
it!
then.
I got lost on that topic. I kind of forgot where I was going with that. Damn it! I hate it when that happens. Well,
Body
anyway.
language.
Yeah,
Ms.
yeah, of
Ms.
Joe and
Pelosi
something.
showing up
Yeah,
as
no,
a
I lost the second one that I was getting into that I'd just gotten off on the tangent on. So fuck it, it's gone. Anyway, Pelosi's body language when she was dealing with Francis was absolutely fascinating. She came across as someone who is in a position of power and someone who's a representative of authority as opposed to just being some nobody that's meeting someone. And it's really fascinating if we consider,
yeah.
how things are handled around Joe these days.
No. Yeah, she's a real piece of work.
Oh, absolutely is. All right. Now I had
Well,
some other stuff.
again, speaking of oil, so we opened up our strategic reserves recently,
Indeed, we
as
did.
well as many other countries to
55
try
million
and
barrels, if I'm not mistaken, was the amount that was put out onto the
to
market.
try and uh, to try
Hmm.
and force OPEC plus. So OPEC and there's other people in the consortium now, but OPEC being the start of it, to force OPEC plus to ramp up production and decrease prices.
To which they
And the
said,
problem is the people don't realize that oil isn't just oil. Um, the strategic reserves or the bush oil is mostly sour crude, which is high in sulfur. We can't produce that. We can't process that rather in the United States at a profitable price. It's just not a way to do it. So instead, what we've been doing with all that oil, if you're wondering what the fuck happened, all that was sold to China. Just want to let you know that right now. You want to feel that in your, you feel that right down there at the bottom of your gut where your anal sphincter just tightened up.
yeah, that 55 million barrels. Oh, and just
A
as a
lot of
by
that
the
was
by, that 55 million
majority of that's
barrels,
being sold. Yeah,
that's 2 days in America. So
yeah. So that's being
the big fucking save, the great old big goddamn deal, 2 days.
so that's being sold to China because we can't process that in the United States due to our regulations. It has too much sulfur in it, and the goal is to force OPEC Plus to ramp up production and to give us some of their sweet oil. That's not being euphemistic. That's the actual terminology is sour and sweet oil. And so the idea that him releasing a strategic reserves helped the United States in any way directly is just false, flat out. We have to sell that oil because we can't refine it in the United States. We just flat out like we have to combine certain oil feedstocks together in order to get them to behave nicely in the refinery system and also to comply with EPA regulation. And there's just no way that 55 million barrels of sour crude is going to help the United States in any fashion, given our regulations and our refineries and their setups. All that oil is being sold out to outside the United States. Period. Just not coming back to us. Might be a little fraction of it that might go to a couple of refiners, but no one's gonna get like a affidavit or a waiver says, oh yeah, you can totally process this stuff and produce a bunch of sulfur oxides.
Well, I mean,
So
just look
that's
at what's happened with the ports. Instead, well, as a matter of fact, not even all that long ago, and now I haven't verified this. I've only heard this from a trucker that's gone in and out of the Long Beach ports. But
mhm.
it was that in a day's time, you could transport 3 containers. You'd go, you'd get your container, take it to wherever it's going to be unloaded, loaded onto whatever long haul trucker or local transit or wherever it's going to go. You get it off of the ship onto yours, and then to the hub where it's going to then go on out. You do that 3 times a day. That's what you can do. That's fine. Which is actually pretty reasonable because these hubs are in the same kind of area. It's part of the whole facility. These are the areas where you saw all these trucks lined up and parked. So what's happened is, since the beginning of the year, what happened in the beginning of the year? Anyway, since that time, it's been changed. Any given driver can only pick up 1. So it doesn't fucking matter if you're running 24/7. It doesn't matter at all. In 1 day's time, you can only grab 1 of these. So instead of deregulating to make this easier, we've done quite the opposite. And lo and behold, it's had exactly the opposite effect. And of course, we're still in that supply chain crunch.
Yeah, that's the other thing is supply chain issues. So, my thing about getting ready yesterday, supply chain issues are also a part of that. You should factor that in now.
Yeah, don't expect any of these issues to even start to don't expect these issues to start to resolve themselves until right about the time of the election. That's when they're going to start to... They're going to start, hey, look, we're getting these problems solved, guys. Look what we're doing for you.
Yeah, bull and shit have something to say about that.
Yeah, but exactly. I'm right.
Yeah.
Because they'll be like, well, hey, we found this thing that we can do. Where this whole time they've been limited to 1 container this whole time, guys. We're going to put it to 3.
Here's the thing is, it doesn't matter if what they say is, it doesn't matter if it's actually helping or not. They're going to say it's helping.
Oh, sure.
Whatever it is they decide to do.
Well, just like we're not hearing about the daily death numbers from COVID anymore. Now that a certain orange man doesn't need to be destroyed, you don't have to tell about how...
Now that a certain wrinkled piece of shit has more deaths under his belt in a shorter amount of time than the other guy.
Yeah, it's not even the end of November. And he didn't even come in until January 20th.
January.
And he has beaten out...
He's got 10 months. 10 months. So you could even say that they're almost equivalent right now. You could say, all right. Pound for pound equivalent.
If we completely discount the very questionable Wuhan games, if we completely discount that, then we're still dealing with about an extra month or 2. And if we don't discount the Wuhan games, well, we're dealing with well over a year. And that makes things very complicated.
Let's just look at it like this. Like, he came in and nothing was his fault for a while. So it's ridiculously... So Chris Chappell had a good section on just the approval ratings of president and so on. I mean, we're talking about, like, we have a president and vice president that are pretty near historic lows at this point.
Not near, actually, historically. They really are the lowest that it's ever been at this time. No one has beat these numbers.
Not just Veep, but, Biden as well.
38% approval. As of, I think, this weekend.
42%. Between 36 and 42% approval rating.
And I think that was an NPR poll. Like the Fox poll was something like 32 to 36, I think.
You can check the RCP spread later, but just the fact remains, like, they're really low numbers. And the thing is, most Americans will forgive foreign affairs fuck-ups in the first year of a presidency. And there's precedent for this, and this is where Chris Chappell went ahead and went above and beyond, in my opinion, going over this kind of stuff. In terms of historical precedents, you have several foreign fuck-ups under several different presidents in their first year. And the American people just kind of will roll with it. Including, say, the fall of Saigon, which is kind of a big one. Or the Cuban Missile Crisis prelude, Bay of Pigs. That's also kind of a big one.
Or the fall of Afghanistan.
That's actually the exception that's highlighted in the rule there. So the thing that's majorly changing here, the thing that's majorly changing here is the fact that the quality of life is not being assured in the same way it was previously. That is a big difference. That's when Americans really do not respond well, especially if it's their guy. And unfortunately for him, most popular president in U.S. history, a lot of people are in the position where he's their guy. So, they're in big trouble next year for elections, and they know it,
Well, I
and they're
mean,
already
let's be
freaking
honest.
out
There's
about it.
only 59 million people for whom he's their guy.
So next year, they're already freaked out about it now. They've been freaked out about it for a couple months. They know that 2022 is going to probably flip both houses,
Even with
and
their
they're going to be
fuckery.
in bigger
And
trouble there.
that's really something.
Right. So here's the thing on that is both houses get flipped. People have been saying the rumor mill in the Hill, which is usually not a good, it's not a reliable indicator, but several people with ears to the floor have said that various news agencies ought to be looking into the House of Representatives confirmation proceedings, their procedures, which is only really used for certain positions, and one of those is vice presidency.
Oh, you mean
So,
how they're actually going on right now and over the past weeks?
so yeah, the vice presidency might be. So the thing is, if the House flips and the Senate flips, Biden is not going to have any ability to fill the role of vice president.
Well, not with any sort of candidate that's
Now,
ever going to get
anybody,
approved.
well, I mean, or if they do get approved, it's going to be someone that the Republicans are happy with. And remember, like I said, Republicans are all politicians too. Um,
Indeed, there are.
their aims, they're going to
Indeed,
have
they are.
aims, whatever those aims are, and if those aims are fulfilled, like Mitch McConnell, he's not on your side. Doesn't matter if he wanted to fuck over Nancy Pelosi's plans. Um, he's still not the good guy.
No.
And
No.
so
Mitch
the
McConnell
same
is
rule
not your
applies here.
friend.
Right. The same exact rule applies here. If it's someone Mitch McConnell is happy with, I bet you, then that's someone that's probably going to be approved in the Senate.
Now, there's some interesting talk that Mitch might not have the numbers to hold that speaker position.
Well, it'd be really nice if he didn't have the numbers to hold that seat.
Oh, it would. It would.
I'd like to
They're
see him primaried. That'd be great.
primaried by an actual America First kind of candidate. That'd be really great.
Yeah, well, that would require the people to actually vote for him.
Well, get out there and fucking vote, people, and tell everyone you know to do the same. Because that's what we need to do. And above and beyond that, for real, if you're listening to this, get involved in your local politics. You can make a difference. One person really does matter. You yourself might only be one vote, but maybe, you could get on your school board. And then you can do a lot. You can do a whole hell of a lot. You can keep these critical theory fucking fascists out of your... I shouldn't say
Yeah, that
fascist.
thing that doesn't exist,
I
right?
shouldn't say fascist. As a matter of fact, I was thinking about
Communist.
this. No, because that term holds no power over them. They don't care if you call them a communist. And they don't like being
I
called a
care.
fascist, but they can say that they are not, and they are technically correct.
Yeah,
So,
they just call them socialists.
well, they don't have a problem with that either. So what
Well,
we
it covers
do,
both camps.
it does, but it holds no heavy weight. So we call them neo-fascists. Right?
I think what you can do is you can just call them faggots and they'll freak out. They'll be apoplectic for days.
Well, you can, and also you can just say, shut the fuck up, Nazi. I'm not listening to your Nazi shit. But, I like neo-fascists. It's modern, and it kind of plays into their whole language narrative thing. But anyway, above and beyond that, I've dropped a link here for you on something that we cover a whole lot. And it seems that the Arctic Ocean has been warming for a lot longer than we thought, maybe longer than people were involved. So we've actually got some studies to kind of back up some of the shit we've been talking about as far as climate
Oh, how
change.
funny. Well, if we got like 15 minutes here, so we can probably refer heavily back to previous episodes at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. Do feel free if you want to get the best.
Well, with the appropriate names that we've given each of the episodes, you'd know which ones to go to.
Yeah, actually, I have them all tagged on
Oh, you
Odyssey.
also have You do have good summaries, if memory serves, on Anchor as well.
Yeah, Anchor has good. Any place you'll find these are going to have all the show links for any of the topics that we've gone
Hmm.
over, where I can find them, as well as a
Right.
very basic summary of any of the individual episodes as well, and some sort of cheeky artwork related to it, since I do a new
Right.
one for every episode too.
We should make these into NFTs, man. I mean,
I've thought
bring them
about
and
it,
hang it out.
but I don't get a lot of play on my stuff, and I actually do have a kind of a particular
Yeah,
style. Although I am,
fair enough.
I did a, I did a Rittenhouse piece that isn't getting a
Hmm.
lot of airplay. I'm not surprised. It's kind of halfway getting shut down, but I don't fucking care because I am a transgressive
Fuck it.
artist, and that's what I do.
I think we should definitely. I think that assigning one to each of the three of us for each episode, and then like maybe making. Well, I think we've got reasonable audience numbers now, right? We could make one for for twice the audience size or so,
Maybe.
thereabouts. For each episode though, so it have as you go further along, it's like those first edition Pokemon cards.
Right.
That by the time you get to like seventh or eighth edition, it's kind of like, but like, who really cares with the first run of that?
I don't know. We will have to do some kind of NFT tie-in. I mean, if fucking Sony and everybody else is doing it, might as well. And I mean, I am.
Well, we should also be very clear to the audience what exactly NFTs are when we do that, so that we don't like. Because the last thing I want to do to somebody who's listening and enjoying the show is rat fuck them economically by saying this is more than just a receipt, fellas.
No, I think honestly, what I'd like to do with that is
Copy and paste,
a
blah
really
blah blah.
a really good way that we could give out some NFTs is when I'm able to get this thing live. And I'm pretty close. I've got a couple of overlays. I need to make a better overlay so that I can, have a proper presentation for all this when it does go live. But when we do that, we could do like a little contest thing, like at the end of the show, like, hey, I'm gonna give away the show's NFT to a lucky listener, something like that. I mean, there's a lot of options. I've actually been thinking a little bit about that, and maybe ways to drive listenership, viewership, etc. That being said, anybody that's managed to hang around this far, if you've got any ideas for things that we can do to, drive people to the show, podcast, whatever you want to call it, let me know. Let Craig know. Let Steve know.
What can we
He'll
do?
get the message to us eventually whenever he checks it.
Actually, you know what we should do? You should do is definitely let Steve know first. Let one of the other two of us know as well, but definitely make sure you let Steve know
Oh yeah, feel free to bug the shit out of him. He'll appreciate it.
because he needs the human contact.
Ah, indeed he does. Doesn't get out enough. Doesn't get out enough.
Uh,
No, no. He's stuck
yeah,
in an
so the
office all
climate
day.
change, this climate change thing, this was interesting. Yeah, the Fram Strait.
Yeah.
That's
So on this, it turns out
some
that
nifty stuff going on there.
things have been going on a little bit longer than the people told us. So the
Yeah, it might not have been the Industrial Revolution after all, huh?
oopsies. So basically, they've
Oh
taken a
no, it's the
study that.
pole world expansion of subtropics since the end of the Little Ice Age. Oh, when did that happen? Oh shit.
Yeah, what is it? They've got data here for the past 800 years, which, if I'm not mistaken, the Industrial Revolution happened less than 800 years ago, right?
Oh,
I
that's an
mean,
odd thing, isn't it?
800 years ago. What was 800 years ago? Was that 1221? Was that the
Oh, we know
13th
exactly how
motherfucking
many.
century when
Dude,
that was?
we were destroying the planet with giant coal refineries, all kinds of crazy shit back then.
Yeah, all the knights,
except that
right?
didn't
And
exist.
samurai
But
and
yeah, all
shit.
they're riding around their gas guzzling horses, spewing out so much CO2 into the air.
Hmm. Isn't that peculiar?
Not to mention the minivan horses. Like, what the fuck, man?
Yeah, they.
Dragging around those wagons.
Yeah, were they? They probably. Yeah, they were deforesting places just to build the wagons. They weren't using
You know what
sustainable
was funny?
plastics or anything like
There are
that.
more. So the funny thing about deforestation, there are more trees in North America than there ever were before settlers arrived. Not the native ones, mind you, but the foreignese ones.
Yeah,
So,
true.
I actually, speaking of you, Redman, unfortunately for you, your ancestors, your relatives on the other side of the continent, rather, supposing that you're from where you're roughly at now, um, burned down all the forests to make plains grass for all the herd animals that they could, or the larger animals, bison and so on,
Well, I have one thing to say to
bison and
that.
horses.
How?
Yum. It's like,
Yeah.
hey, no. See, you're just, you're just trying to horn into my territory. The law firm Dewey Fuck 'em in hell.
Hey,
All
now.
right, so all,
That's our word.
not with an E on the end.
Oy vey.
Like evolved, yeah. So, so they burned down all the trees in the middle of the country to make all that plains land. And when all the evil white man showed up and started planting trees again, and unfortunately hasn't caught up with all the evil white man activities down in South America, where they just started destroying the Amazon instead. But there's already all those trees down there.
Yeah, they do kind of have a
Good
couple of
time.
them.
Fair enough.
Thousands of, species still yet undiscovered in there. What?
Oh yeah, there's the estimate is around a tenth of species have been discovered, which is already a massive quantity. Like that's a pretty significant undertaking as it is. But about a tenth of species on the planet have been discovered by estimates.
Yeah, well,
So
we still got trenches to explore. So
well,
there's
there's
all
it's
that.
not just that. Just ants on their own are a hilarious supply of new species every year.
I can believe that. I mean,
Like
legitimately
those
too.
little
Just
sugar ants that you murder, they could easily be a new species.
fair,
You
fair.
know,
Well, I
Laternum
mean,
tortuosum.
gnats, as a matter of fact. I mean, those things are
Oh yeah,
they change so fast. Like you can
oh
see.
yeah, Drosophily.
I mean, in 1 year's time, you can see a massive amount of change and mutation in a gnat line. Doesn't hurt that they're incredibly short lived. That kind of pushes factors in its favor, but nonetheless, that just kind of points to the plasticity of life. Yes, yes, I did just use plasticity appropriately.
That's pretty unique.
Yeah, yeah, it happens every now and then.
Every once in a while, I rub off on people, and then they start coming after me legally.
Well, you're.
Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba.
I was gonna say you're not doing it in an Bidenly fashion, so it's not like it's
Yeah, they're all age appropriate, and I have consent.
Well, there you go. There you go. Oh me, oh my. Now
Yeah, so
something we.
this thing here is talking about ocean currents and the way that the Atlantic has changed, as well as the Arctic Ocean. And yeah, it involves the saline currents, etc. And they've got distant records. They have the distributions of different underwater rivers. And yeah, it's describing the way that heat is being transported around the poles, and in the polar region. So the polar ocean regions, and so where the heat is being convected around. Um, and advected around. So that's, I mean, it's interesting how they've changed over the years, and they have these great little comparative maps, um, to show the 1866 curve versus 1989 to 2002. Like that is it's a huge change, um, around the Fram Strait. Like it's been impeding further and further into the Fram Strait, over a couple centuries.
Hmm. Almost like it's some sort of naturally occurring phenomena. God
Now,
forbid.
a thing to point out here that is often used as that is often flexed too much in my opinion when it comes to the climate fanatics, not climatologists, mind you, because they're at least even keeled.
Well,
But the
theoretically.
nutcases will say that it's not just the natural variation, but the fact that humans exacerbate certain things or speed things up or slow things down, what have you. And to a certain degree, they're right that humans are going to have an impact on the environment. We clearly have an impact on our environment because we live in houses. That's, the obvious shit in front of you is obvious. There's probably going to be some impact on the environment. I think that's a reasonable claim to make. The extent of that impact is really largely the problem that he's, the, taking it too far is taking it too far, and clearly we didn't have the kind of industry required. You can argue about when the Industrial Revolution began, etc. But if you're going back 800 years, it's there was no like the
I mean,
human
it's not like
activity
we've
did
got
not.
data going all the way back to the Sino-Korean hyperwar
I,
or anything here. Come on.
I'm just saying, like, you go back 800 years, and if you're looking at sedentary data like this, you have these this good data, um, that's archaeological in origin. Like it's there's not like we didn't have the industry we have today back then.
Oh,
Period.
true, of course.
It's
Well, as a
and
matter
I
of
mean you can
fact,
argue
actually, if we
about
look at the
the
dawn of the
correlation.
Industrial Revolution, that industry was
1810.
horrifyingly more polluting than anything other than basically China, India, or some parts of Africa today.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
Yeah, every bit
But
as
like if
bad
you
or
look at
worse.
like and 800 years is roughly the lag between solar activity and ocean temperatures. So that's the scale we're starting to actually get to climate, like long term climate scales. We're scratching the very bottom of that at 800 years.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, no. That's a really excellent point because that kind of brings home the idea of kind of solar cycles and climate cycles
But
because
again,
these things are intimately tied.
800 years is the lag, the phase lag between the solar Milankovitch cycles and the temperature response in the oceans. And the solar cycles lead the ocean cycles. So it's pretty obvious that it's the solar cycles that impact the temperature of the oceans. But these are also very long range cycles. So these aren't like on a 30-year scale. Like I said, the phase lag, just the difference between the curves, is on the order of 800 years. We're talking about multi-thousand year cycles or multi tens of thousands of year cycles.
Yeah,
So
the
these are
things are
basically
the
cycles.
scales that are kind of the scale and scope is kind of beyond your understanding. Not to say that it isn't
Well,
or
it's
is. It's
of
just that
time.
it's so grand that it's
It's beyond
hard
the
to
human
really wrap your head around. Maybe you
it's beyond the
can.
human experience of time, and that's the
Yeah.
thing that is a problem. And when we talk about the next 100 years, for those kind of cycles, it's reasonable to predict the next 100 years within a reasonable accuracy, but as like a baseline from which things can deviate significantly based on shorter term cycles. There's a significant amount of averaging going on with
Well, I mean,
these
just
kind
take for
of
instance some of the
examples.
numbers out of the 70s. Let's say we take the EPA numbers out of the 70s, the cooked numbers that they were wanting to use, the world's going to end in however many years. Like the numbers
Sure.
that they had before they had the really good numbers that we got in the 80s that really gave us like a clear picture that we're not as fucked as we kind of thought we were. Those bad numbers, even then, they weren't really all that bad. They kind of had to cook them to get them to look bad, and even then they weren't terrible. They were just a little distressing. And then even that didn't play out.
Yeah.
So it's just this long line of changing the narrative and cooking the numbers,
Yeah.
which
So
kind of annoying.
so this I mean this is an interesting article. It looks like it's reasonably sourced just off my skim of this, and then the techniques they're using are reasonable. They have the halocline that they were talking about and the deviation of that over time,
And let's be honest, that's
and
all we
they have
really
the
want from these
convection
people is
underneath.
just that they be reasonable, and they
Well,
refuse.
so it's that they follow science. And again, like if we can go back to whatever the fuck his face is, the whole 97% of scientists, blah 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 thing. That was such a bullshit claim, completely bullshit claim. Um, the majority of scientists will not take a partisan position on these topics because you shouldn't. Period.
Well,
Completely. Just
don't you know,
end of
sir,
story.
that 9 out of 10 doctors prefer the smooth, toasted flavor of a Camel cigarette to any other cigarette?
Well, again, it's the same kind of marketing at play, yes. And again, most doctors would not say pro or against cigarette. They would say this is what gives you cancer. In this case, there is no this is what gives you climate change. There just isn't.
Yeah, no, it doesn't
And
exist.
so
There are not real numbers to give you that. And
also
the
we
real
know what
numbers that are there to
climate.
give you that, they come from volcanoes
And so
and the sun.
when I say climate change, there I'm talking to the anthropogenic climate change (ACW) or AGW, the anthropogenic global warming.
Yeah,
That as a phenomena, like I said, you could I think it's fair to say that humans have an impact. I
that
think
is
it's
a
very
that is a
unfair to say
factual and true statement.
I think that it's unfair to say that you have any fucking idea what that impact is within your lifetime
That is
of
also
a time
a
scale.
factual and true statement.
It's
And
just
why is it that
not
we can't
something
say
that we
both of
have
those fucking
data.
things?
Well, I think it's the second one. So you don't see it as much in core STEM as you do in say medical science, but you get a God complex with this kind of shit where you just think that you know, but you're basing it off of data that has an error percentage or error margin to it. You have a percentage of time where it's going to be true or not. And this is something that Steve brings up repeatedly, and it's very important and it's very true. When your error bars aren't present on the plot because they extend outside of the range of the plot you're showing, that's bad. That's anti-science to try to draw conclusions
Yeah, your
from something
margins of
where there
error
is
should
literally no
be
observable difference.
your margins of error
No,
should be percentages of a point, not
well, no,
many
it's not
percent.
even that. It's the fact that when you have error bars cross, there's something called an observable difference or no observable difference. When the error bars cross, there's no observable difference. When they're not touching, when they can't cross each other, that's when you have an observable difference. And the fact is that on those plots where the error bars are off of the plots, that means everything on there is observably identical. Like there's no observable distinction between them
Yeah,
because
yeah,
all the error
you've got to
bars
move
cross.
the decimal point like 1 or 2 spaces before things even start to happen.
So when you do like that is what's like good enough for pilot scale work or pilot study work, where you can say, look, we didn't observe something, but we thought we saw a trend in the average, like in the mean of the change in whatever.
Oh,
Like
sure.
basically, when your calculated model follows a certain trend in your observation, the average of your data in that observation, the point that has the bars around it, moves in some way. You can say, okay, that's interesting enough, and it agrees well enough with my hypothesis. We should fund a larger study on this to get better data.
The
That
old
is
maybe there's
very
something
very common.
here kind of thing.
Yeah, that's very common. Usually, it's done with smaller sample sizes. So those things where they have like a n equals 5 up to like n equals 100 or whatever. Those are all small studies. Usually, that's going to be a small study if you have up to 100 samples. Period. But when you start going beyond that, you need to produce results that show better correlation with a model that says something in order for that model to actually say something. And when your error bars don't allow you to say anything and then you say it anyway, that's anti-science. That's the opposite of science. That's forcing something to follow your preconceived conclusions ahead of time and then ignoring fundamental precepts of science to allow you to preach your dogma. That's religion.
Now, dogma is
You
a
know,
good choice of words there, sir. That's exactly what it
place
is.
for religion.
Because
There's
these
place for
people,
religion, but
they've,
science is not religion. You don't go into science with religion. It
yeah,
just does not work that way.
they've gone down the path of scientism, and
Sure.
they've
I
turned
hate that word
science
just
into their
because
god.
on principle, but like,
Well, you should, because
yeah,
it's a hateable word and it's a hateable principle.
well, I mean, so here's the thing: like, religion has its place in society, and religion has its place in faiths. I would argue that there's a gigantic gap between faith and religion, and that faith is more laudable to have as a person. But you know, for
Well, it
some
depends
people,
on what you've got
religion
faith
allows them
in,
to
but you know.
for some people, religion allows them to maintain their faith. Fine, I get it. So there's that aspect to it. But again, religion does not have a place in science. And there are some people out there who would make an argument that science is a religion, and that's just no. Does not work the same way. The idea of dogma, the only dogma
Well,
you're going to find in science is that you're still wrong.
well, the thing about that is, science, as much as I hate to say this, those people are right. It has become a religion, but not true science,
Sure.
and not the pursuit
Well,
of
the thing
truth
is,
that science
this
is.
isn't like
A
there isn't even
perversion
like
of
a
science has become religion.
Sure. There isn't even a no true Scotsman argument to make on science as a process, because it either is science or isn't. It's just like you can hem and haw about things, but usually what's going to boil down to is you're trying to shove someone's opinion in an article into the scientific process that produced the article.
Well,
And
you know what?
when you have extra bits in an article, it does confuse things. Sure.
I'm gonna quote Feynman and just say scientists love
Right.
mysteries. They love not knowing.
Yeah.
And
You're
that,
also, as a
and
scientist, wrong most of the
that
time.
is the gospel of science. That is the evangel of truth. Not knowing and seeking an answer. That is the evangel of truth. That is the gospel of reality.
Here's another thing: is Feynman, you know, his lectures are online. You should watch this one in particular. I liked it a lot. He had one lecture in particular where someone, you know, asked him why certain things are so complicated. He said, you know, wouldn't it be nice if it was all so simple? It's too bad. This universe is beautiful and complicated. Don't like it here? Find another universe.
Yeah. Simple enough.
Straightforward.
Yeah. Which, you know, we can say that to all the people that hate so much about America. Hey, you know,
well,
if you hate this place so fucking much, you could,
find
you know,
country.
leave. There are
Well,
places.
this is where I think that you're right. You're right about school boards. Just show up and participate. Like, this is something that it used to be that families were much more connected to their communities because they had the time and the ability to do it.
And in this day and time, you will have to find the time to do it because oftentimes you've got two working parents. Maybe.
Right. I was going to say what you will about having both parents participating in the workforce, but it used to be that you would actually have at least the potential to have somebody paying attention to the education of the kids. It doesn't if it takes having one parent do a part-time job and then spend the other half of the day working as someone in school or on the school board or whatever. Like, these are the idea that you can have it all as a working parent is always been bullshit. It's a selling point.
So the odds of there being a stay-at-home dad that catches our podcast are pretty low. But in the chance that there is a stay-at-home dad that catches this, get a job delivering pizzas, dude. That's going to bring...
I'll say this.
That's something you can do part-time. that's going to bring money into your house. And
So for a
okay,
little while,
now
my
if you're
dad was
not doing
switching
that,
careers.
or yeah, actually, I
Yeah.
shouldn't. I've kind of I parsed this all wrong. So let's say you're a
Well,
stay-at-home
so my
parent of whatever variety. You're working
right.
some job wherever, and you stay home the rest of the time to look after your kids. Your other spouse is a full-time employee. Let's just say there's
Sure.
time there. You might have to make a little bit of a change, make a little bit of a cut, but that time is better spent ensuring the future of your family and your community than
Yeah.
for a little bit of security, because you're not going to have that security at the end of the day if you throw away your community, as we
So
can
here's
see.
here's a cautionary story I can throw in there.
Yeah.
So at a certain point, my dad got laid off from his job, and he ended up uh, being a stay-home dad for a little while. He went back to college and got himself certified for IT work. And he actually worked at the school I went to for a number of years, and well after I had left the school, high school. But he was there actively participating in my education in a way. It's that like he committed to that pretty strongly. That was really important, and that's like if you have kids, like they're the next gen. They're gonna be who support you later too.
Be involved in their lives,
Be involved in their lives, yeah,
and not just at home, and not just
exactly.
after school, especially
And
especially be involved in their lives during school, because the state would rather be another parent.
yeah, their young age education is really important. When they go off to college, they should be prepared for that. To be
and
without you, at least
and
to have you
do
nearby, but
not,
like to be without you.
for the love of everything that is worth a shit in this whole fucking world, do not be afraid to homeschool your kids. There are great,
Yeah,
great resources out there. I know a few offhand. There's one program that's actually getting a lot of adoption. Acellus is the name of the program. It's okay. It's not. It's got no critical theory, and it's raw education. I'm not going to personally endorse it because I haven't been over it. I just know that it's a classical education that contains no modern cancer. So
here's the thing. Regardless of what's being taught in your schools, whatever, regardless of what's being taught, having an active interest in your child's education gives you insight into what they're being taught, simply because they will start sharing it with you more. If that alone, like just making it so that the teachers know you're involved somewhere, they're going to know that whatever they're teaching is going to end up being regurgitated at home.
but that being
And they're
said,
not going
do
to
go to
have
your parent
the
teacher
wide
association
open.
meetings. Do
Yes,
absolutely attend whenever you get the chance.
they're going to know that whatever they're saying is going to show up at home somehow and not just be ingested by the student. That the parent is going to know. Like I'm a pretty firm believer in that all public servants should be videoed at all times. School classrooms, no exception. I think that a public school classroom should have a big fucking camera in the corner that everyone sees.
I would be okay with teachers being recorded. Yeah. I mean,
And
considering
I
some of
think
the
it should be
vile shit
pointed
that's come out
directly at
over
the
the last
teacher.
year, I think
Yeah,
it would be a very wise thing to do.
and in fact, better yet, put it at the back of the classroom, facing forward directly at the teacher, and able to see every student. Multiple cameras, even. And you can do it. You don't even have to like go, big government state sponsored horrific shit on. You don't have to do dystopian stuff. Just a rolling tape that will tape over every 7 days, so that you've at least got like a week of footage on these people, and that's publicly accessible.
Yeah, there's any number
Like
of ways to do this that would
you
not
don't have
really
to have
violate
like
privacy or
10 years of you don't need a 10-year backlog, but just like if even if there's like important moments or whatever, just to have that data available, just so that a parent can satisfy their curiosity
I mean,
that
shit,
their
you'd think they'd
kid
do
is
this
being
in
taught
inner
something
city
good.
schools already, just out of the massive danger that those places are. But no.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, they might have 1,000 cameras in the hallways, might even point them at the
Yeah.
bathrooms, and then have to be taken to court to take them out, but not in the classes. Not in the classes. Isn't that curious?
Yeah, thank you, teachers unions. It's bogus. It's nuts.
Oh, yeah, I know. It absolutely is.
But I am 15 over. So if we have like a feel good story to wrap up on in the next 5 minutes, for me at least, unless you want to go on your own.
No, we can wrap. We got like a 2 hour show in here, so we're good. And I do have a kind of feel good story. Enos Cantor, you familiar with the name?
Can't say I recall it off the top of my head.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. He's the guy that's called out LeBron, the
Oh yes, I know
the Celtics player. He's going to change tomorrow, or as of recording now, since we're after midnight. As of today, he will become a U.S. citizen, and he is going to be changing his name from Enos Cantor to Enos Freedom. Right on, dude. Congratulations, and good luck going forward as an American citizen. You really do exemplify kind of the American spirit, and I'm glad to see somebody in a position like this actually being a real positive role model.
And show up, please. Just show up and just like in the audience too. You don't even have to be on the court. Just show up at a game and just stand up and clap for LeBron. Make sure he gets good eye contact with you too. Then give him the middle finger.
I think actually I think that those two have met on the courts, and I'm pretty sure he was wearing a pair of his shoes. And I don't know if you've seen him, but Enos has gotten some.
I hope he walked all over him with him.
They did win, actually.
That's great.
Funny enough. But he was wearing one of his... I think he was wearing the shoes that have the red accent and have she done up as Winnie the Pooh on them.
Yeah.
And I think those are the ones that actually have Kobe bowing down to the Panda G. Or not Panda G, the Pooh G. Which is... That's just... mwah, chef's kiss.
Yeah, Shinny Jinpoo can kiss my ass.
Indeed he can. But I'll put a link to that. It's out of the Post-Millennial, which is actually pretty good.
Okay. They're doing well.
Pretty good order.
I like them as a news source. They're definitely got their bias. They have there you go, Freedom 11. Nice.
Yeah, a lot cooler than just being like shaving your numbers into your head or something like that. I mean, this guy's doing the right thing. He's calling out legitimately shitty people and shills for legitimately shitty people, and that's what we should be doing. That's what these people should be doing. You're in a position to build a better world, to tell kids like, hey,
Well, they tell us this is what their millions of dollars is supposed to pay for, is an entire economy of people underneath them that are building a better society in their wake. Providing role models for kids, et cetera, putting back into the community. What kind of person says he's putting back in the community by hiring slave labor from China?
That's absolutely right. If you're turning a blind eye to what's happening in Xinjiang, then you're turning a blind eye to everything that has happened before and everything that's coming. And if you're doing that, well, fuck you. You're a piece of shit.
Yeah.
And that's just pretty much it. And of course, remember, my body, my choice.
Yes.
Absolutely. But again, if you've got anything for any of us here on the show, questions, show ideas, you just want to chat, or you'd like to get on the Discord so that you can help out, or just be closer to chat, hit either one of us up.
I think I know how to add people now. That's a good thing.
But you can find me at that fake guy Dan. Again, I'm Evan, in case you didn't recognize that at the beginning. At that fake guy Dan everywhere except Facebook, because robot lizards are weird and I don't endorse robot lizards. And you can find my man Craig here at CraigBob99 everywhere, I think including Facebook.
So I'm not connecting with other people on Facebook. That I'm keeping private.
Probably
but
wise.
Most places you can find me, CraigBob99. So you'll most likely find me on Twitter.
Do hit us both
I
up
try to
on Minds for sure. Give us a reason to
I
go
try
over
to
there
swing
and be
by
active.
mines. I try to swing by mines at least once a week. A couple other places, but definitely, Twitter. Definitely, you'll be able to find me there. Usually shit posting. So and I don't pull my punches on there. So if I say something to you that sounds overly mean, probably not personal. Usually don't go personal first. If I call your idea stupid, I'm not calling you stupid. Just to be clear.
Yeah, no, that's what I do. I mean, I'll probably be right, but I'm probably going to personally insult you out the gate. Just on principle. Because we've all got to have our standards, right?
There you go.
Absolutely.
You got a process. It doesn't matter if it's a badly written process, but we have a process.
That's right. Badly written. Pshaw. Anyway, been a
Oh, come
pleasure.
on. You haven't seen the ISO 9000 Dilbert strips? Or ISO 9001 or whatever it was?
Actually, I don't think I have. You have to link that to me.
So the idea that an ISO numbers are assigned. So basically, it's a well documented process, whatever the thing is. And so the joke is that it might be a bad process or a dysfunctional process, but at least it's well documented.
No, well, fair enough. Sounds very corporate.
Yes, that's the idea.
Yeah, but if it's Dilbert, it is. But anyway, been a pleasure, everybody. We'll talk to you again soon. And as always, if you got anything for us, hit us up. We're very approachable, and we like having questions to answer. So, throw them our way. We'll talk to you again soon.